Benny Bunny hopped down the path, his nose twitching at the scent of fresh marigolds. Ahead, the entrance to the Magic Vegetable School waited, framed by an intricate pattern on the ground. He stepped inside, his paws clicking against the floor. The room was bright, filled with the soft hum of morning activity. Moti Cauliflower stood by the blackboard, a piece of chalk poised in his hand. He pressed the tip to the surface, the chalk dust dancing as he wrote the word share in bold, clear strokes. Moti turned, his gaze meeting Benny's with a welcoming expression. "Namaste, Benny," Moti said, his voice steady and kind. "In our school, we learn to share and care." Benny nodded, his ears perking up as he looked at the word on the board. A sense of anticipation settled in his chest. This was not just a room of books and lessons. It was a place where he was expected to participate. He stood still, taking in the atmosphere, feeling the quiet promise of the day ahead. Across the room, a sudden clatter broke the concentration of the students. Tinku Turnip had stumbled, sending a handful of colored crayons scattering across the floor. Before he could reach for them, Palak Spinach was already moving. She knelt beside him, her movements quick and precise as she gathered the rolling colors and stacked them neatly back into a pile. "I am Palak," she said, offering a wide, steady smile that seemed to brighten the corner of the garden. "I love helping my friends." Benny watched from his spot, his eyes wide. He noted how the simple act of assistance made the entire room feel warmer, as if the air itself was shifting in response to her care. Just then, a melody cut through the quiet. Chicky Corn sat on a mat, fingers dancing over the holes of a small flute. The music was bright and rhythmic, weaving through the space and pulling everyone into a shared mood. Benny felt his feet tap against the floor. He watched the others react to the sound, realizing that these small acts of kindness and the rising music were working together to turn the school into a living, breathing harmony. Curiosity bloomed in his mind as he looked around, eager to see what else this garden held. The music drifted into silence, leaving a quiet pocket in the corner of the room. Benny shifted his gaze and saw Nandu Onion sitting alone. Nandu reached up, his hand trembling slightly as he wiped a single, persistent tear from his cheek. The room seemed to shrink as the others noticed. Palak Spinach left her spot instantly, moving with a soft, purposeful gait toward the corner. Chicky Corn followed close behind, placing her flute aside with care. They did not speak at first. They simply gathered around Nandu, creating a circle of proximity. Palak reached out, her touch light and steady as she patted Nandu on the shoulder. Chicky leaned in, offering a reassuring nod that broke the tension. Nandu looked up, his expression shifting as the weight of his concern began to lift. He drew a long, shaky breath, and then, quite suddenly, he beamed. Benny watched from a few paces away, his ears lowered in focus. He whispered to himself, "It is okay to have feelings." He realized then that the school was not just about sharing tools or playing music. It was about the strength found in being open. By supporting one another through the quiet moments of sadness, they were building a foundation that made every member of the group more resilient and ready for the lessons to come. As the sun climbed higher, the group moved toward the center of the garden. They sat on wide banana leaves to share their healthy snack. Moti stood before a large wall chart that mapped the human body. He pointed to the heart, then the hands, then the eyes, tracing lines that connected them to the vibrant produce spread out before them. "This is the fuel," Moti explained, his voice steady and clear. "It builds the strength to move and the kindness to share." As he spoke, the air began to hum. A faint golden light sparked near the clay pots, then flared brighter as the friends stood up in unison. The garden responded to their unity. Flowers pulsed with soft, rhythmic light. Tinku reached out, grabbing the hand of Palak, who caught Chicky, who reached for Benny. The circle snapped shut. Suddenly, a fast, rhythmic folk tune erupted from the ground itself. The friends began to spin, their feet hitting the earth in perfect time. They moved faster, circling the blooming garden beds while their laughter rose into the air, echoing through the village. The magic was no longer just in the chart. It was in the blur of their motion and the sheer force of their shared joy. The spinning slowed until the rhythmic pulse of the ground faded into the chirping of crickets. The sun began its descent, casting long, golden shadows across the garden floor. Moti Cauliflower gestured toward the blackboard, where the final lesson remained written in crisp, white chalk. Eat healthy, learn happily. The friends gravitated toward the board, forming a final row as the light softened around them. Tinku Turnip stood tall, his hands clasped behind his back, while Palak and Chiki stood close, their breathing steady after the exertion of the dance. Benny Bunny hopped to the front, feeling the cooling air against his fur. He looked at each friend, noting the bright, lingering smiles that mirrored the fading sunset. They stood together in the quiet space they had cultivated throughout the day. Moti nodded, signaling the end of the session. Benny raised a paw and gave a slow, deliberate wave to the clearing. "See you next time on Little Wonder Trails," they shouted in unison. Their voices rose, clear and steady, vibrating through the garden one last time. As they turned to head home, the glow of the sunset caught the dew on the leaves, making the entire path shimmer. The school was empty, but the sense of connection remained, anchored by the day's lessons and the promise of tomorrow.